Hello, thank you for joining me in our fifth movement ABCs class. Today we're going to talk about developing a functional core. So there's always been a lot of talk in the exercise world about developing strong abs and having a six-pack or abs of steel. And that is not so much what we're focusing on, but developing a full strong core. So that encompasses not just your abdominal muscles, but your back muscles all the way along your spine from the upper part to the lower part, and also developing mobility in our rib cage. And so whether the mobility and stability of your core affects the way that you are able to move your limbs too. And so growing a strong and functional core can help us when we're picking something up or loading the dishwasher or playing with kids. I mean, really almost any full body activity. We want our cores to respond in an appropriate way so that we have stability. And so the movements that we're going to work on today will help develop that functional core and help you also know when your core is responding and when it's not, and how to move safely. So the hope then, as we practice more and more these movements, is that it would become automatic and your mind-body response would just kind of kick on. So why don't we go ahead and move on to our mat. We're going to begin standing up today. So you can stand on your mat. You are going to need a strap and a block. So if you don't have those, go ahead and get them. If you don't have a block, you can use a book. And if you don't have like a exercise or yoga strap, you could use a belt or a scarf like we've done before. And then once you have your materials, you can go ahead and stand on your mat with feet about hips width apart. Your spine is straight and long, chin is slightly tucked. And begin to bring your awareness to your breath. You can fix your gaze gently on a spot or close your eyes if you're comfortable with that. And notice your inhale and your exhale and how you feel in your body today. Feel your feet holding you up. Feel the ground holding up your feet. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. As thoughts come about your day, things that have happened or things that are going to happen, just let them gently fall away and let yourself just be present here as you practice. Take a deep breath in your nose if you're able to today, and out your mouth, and you can open your eyes if they were closed. Now we're going to work on some breath activities. So one of the very important things as we focus on the core is breathing. Our breathing happens in this area. And while there's no one right way to breathe, there are more helpful ways to breathe for our core, especially when we're trying to move in a precise way. And so the breath that we're going to work on is breathe in your nose, filling your rib cage. And then as you blow out your mouth, you want to act like you're blowing out candles. So one thing that can help is to place your hands on your belly. Take a deep inhale through your nose or through your mouth. And as you exhale, blow out the candles and see if you can feel your belly move move inward. So not sucking in your belly, you know, like you're trying to make your pants fit, but just letting the exhale of your breath move your belly inwards. So let's do that together. Try a few times, like you're blowing out birthday candles, and notice your belly moving inward and contracting. So when you're blowing out those candles, you should also get a sense for kind of the muscles moving together from the sides and from the top. Try it again. Do a couple more breaths, getting an awareness of that. And then we're going to use that breath as we move together. So go ahead and pick up your strap, your belt, whatever you have. Bring your strap a little more than shoulder width apart. Feet are about hips width apart. And we're going to raise the strap up over your head. Unfortunately, you can't really see me. I'm going to come down to my knees so you can see me. I can't get my camera high enough. But you can do it standing up. You could do it kneeling if you want to. It actually might be a little harder kneeling. But we're going to hold the strap over your head. You want to make sure that your chest is not popping out. So everybody, lift your strap up over your head. Pop out your chest, like you're trying to get it as high as you can. You want to avoid popping the chest. So when you bring your strap up over your head, the rib cage stays in the same place and your arms just go as high as they can without moving your rib cage. Now we're going to inhale and exhale, lean your strap to the right. Inhale, exhale as you come up. So your exhale is blow out the candles. Let's try again. Inhale, exhale, come to the right. Inhale, exhale to come back up. Arms stay over your head. Inhale, exhale to go to the left. Inhale, exhale to come back up. Let's do it again. Inhale, exhale to go to the left. Make sure your rib cage isn't popping out. Inhale, exhale to come back up. Now, you can let your arms down if you need to. And then bring your arms back up. Same way, being careful not to pop out your chest. Now this time, as you inhale, exhale and pull your strap towards the left as you move to the right. Keep pulling towards the left as you move to the right. Inhale, exhale to come up. Notice how that changes the movement for you. Can you feel your abs kicking on? So inhale, exhale, pull your strap towards the left as you bend to the right. Inhale, exhale to come back up. We'll go to the other side. Inhale, exhale to the right, to the left, pulling your strap towards the right. Inhale, exhale to come back up, continuing to pull the strap towards the right. So you're pulling the strap in the opposite direction, but your arms aren't really moving. So we're not trying to do this. You're keeping your head in the center of your arms, and the movement is just isometric. So you're pulling on the strap, activating your whole left side. Exhale, come back up. Inhale, exhale, go to the left, pulling towards the right. Inhale, exhale, blow out the candles to come back up. Let's go the other side again. Inhale, exhale to the right, pulling towards the left. Inhale, exhale to come back up. And then inhale, exhale towards the left, pulling your strap towards the right. Inhale, exhale to come back up. Let your strap come down. You should already be feeling that starting to kick on the sides of your core. So now you're going to turn on your mat. And you can come up towards the front of the mat, reestablishing your position. Feet are about hips width apart. You still have your strap in your hands. Bring your right leg up to balance onto your left foot and slowly step your right foot back into a lunge. So we're in a high lunge position here. Press your left foot firmly into the mat so your full foot is pressing down. Toes, forefoot, heel, and feel that really kick on your hamstrings and the back of your leg. Press your toes on your right foot into the mat and reach your heel towards the back of the room. Now, before we use the strap, you're going to tilt your pelvis forward. So your pubic bone right in the front is going to move down. And as you tilt your pelvis forward, your whole torso moves forward along with it. So like you're one board. Okay, now tuck your pelvis so that your pubic bone comes forward and your whole torso stays like a board. So the top of your body and your whole pelvis are connected. So when you tilt, still just hips are like headlights of a car, beams are forward, tilt your pelvis so that you come forward, and then tuck your pelvis to bring your torso back up. Feel that again. Tilt your pelvis, tuck your pelvis, come back up. Now we can add the strap. So strap is over our head, ribs are not popping out. Tilt the pelvis to move your whole torso forward, and you reach out in front of you. Tuck your pelvis to come back up. You should feel it in your legs too. We're teaching our core to respond with movement. So tilt your pelvis to come forward. Tuck your pelvis to come back up. So your left leg is very strong. Your full foot is pressing into the mat. Make sure your back leg is kicked on too. Heel is reaching towards the back of the room. Tilt the pelvis to bring your strap forward. Tuck the pelvis to bring it back up. One more time. Tilt the pelvis to bring the strap forward. Tuck your pelvis to bring it back up. Now let's add the breath. Inhale. Tilt the pelvis to bring yourself forward. Exhale, blow out the candles to bring yourself back up. Can you tell the difference now? Inhale. Tilt the pelvis forward. Exhale, blow out the candles to come back up. Do it a couple more times. Legs are strong, pressing into the mat, holding you up. And your torso and your pelvis move as one. Arms are reaching out in front of you and above you. You can release your strap. Step your right foot forward to come back to the front. Step it out if you need to. Sometimes the movements can get intense pretty quickly. Transfer your weight to your right foot to come and balance on your right foot, stepping the left foot slowly back into a lunge. Your right foot is pressing into the mat, your toes, your forefoot, and your heel. And your left foot, the toes are pressing into the mat, heel is reaching towards the back. So legs are strong, holding you up. Again, let's go ahead and tilt the pelvis so your torso comes forward. Tuck the pelvis to come back up. Okay, try it again. Hips are forward like the headlights of a car. They tilt down and then back up. What are your legs doing? Are they strong? Are your feet pressed into the mat to activate them? And then we can add the strap, bring it overhead, keeping the ribs down. Tilt the pelvis to come forward. Strap comes down with you. Tuck the pelvis to come back up. Be careful not to lift back up from your back. So let me show you what that would look like. If I was bending from my back, I'm reaching like this, and then I'm reaching like this. It's actually really easy that way. You don't want to do that. You want to let your pelvis lead the movement. So tilt the pelvis, kind of like you're pointing your tailbone to the back of the room. And then tuck your pelvis so your tailbone points down towards the floor. And you get a more whole body movement. Okay, let's add the breath. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, blow out the candles to come back up. Inhale to come forward. Exhale, blow out the candles to come back up. Do a couple more. Letting all the movement come from your pelvis. And then you can let your strap down, step forward, place your strap to the ground, and come down into a forward fold. Stretching out your legs from the work we just did. You can let yourself hang, grab onto elbows if that feels good. Stretching out your spine. Doing any little movements after that intense work. And then place your hands on the mat and bend your legs. Step your right foot back, your left foot back, and lift your hips up to come back into downward dog. Take a couple breaths in downward dog. Come forward into plank and let your knees come down into tabletop. So now we're on all fours. Hands are about shoulder width apart. Knees are about hips width apart. Press your hands into the mat to spread your shoulder blades wide. And we'll do some cat-cow. So first we're gonna notice what the pelvis is doing again. So just being in tabletop, without moving the rest of your spine, try to just move your pelvis. So like we were tilting and tucking our pelvis before, try to do that separate from your back. So you're gonna point your tailbone up towards the ground, towards the ceiling, and then tuck your tailbone, pointing it down towards the floor. So try not to move the rest of your back with this. And actually, you might be able to see me better with my shirt tucked in. So you tilt the pelvis, turning your tailbone up to the ceiling, tuck the pelvis, pointing your tailbone down towards the floor. So that's moving it separate. So then this time, let's tuck the pelvis, tailbone points down towards the ceiling, and then continue to tuck with the rest of your spine, moving into your lower back, your mid back, your upper back, and even your neck, your cervical spine. And then tilt your pelvis so that your tailbone points up towards the sky, and then continue to tilt and arch into the rest of your back, moving all the way along up to your neck. Continuing to press your hands into the mat, stabilize the shoulders, elbow pits are facing forward, and then tuck the pelvis, pointing your tailbone down and bring a rounding into the rest of your spine, walking up to your neck. And then tilt your tailbone up towards the ceiling and let the movement come throughout your whole spine. Do a couple more. Cat-cows. And then tuck your toes, lifting your hips to press back into downward dog. Come forward into plank. Back into down dog. Forward into plank. And then drop your knees to the floor, back like you're back into tabletop, but walk your hands about a step forward so that you're reaching forward, and then line up your shoulders over your hands so that you're in almost like a upward dog position, but your knees are down. And then you're going to drop your hips towards the floor. So hands are still pressing into the mat. Shoulder blades are spread wide. So we don't want to collapse into our shoulders like this. Hands are pressed into the mat. Shoulder blades spread wide. Hips, inhale. Hips come a little bit forward. Exhale. Hips come back up. And you press back. Press your hips back. Inhale, hips come forward. Exhale, hips come back. Can you feel your core kick on? Inhale, hips lean forward towards the mat, but we're not just slumping. We're not doing this. That's not good for your low back. So they come forward just enough. Exhale, hips come back up. Inhale, hips come forward. Exhale, hips come back up. Do a couple more. Forward. Exhale, hips come back up. Inhale, hips come forward. Exhale, hips come back up. Tuck your toes. Press back into downward dog. Inhale. And exhale here. Inhale, exhale forward into plank, and then drop your knees back down into a tabletop position. Press your hands into the mat, fingers are spread wide. Externally rotate so that your elbow pits press forward. And then you're going to hug your right shoulder towards your right hip so you get a side bend. Come back to center. Make sure you're still in position, pressing your hands into the mat firmly, and hug your right shoulder towards your right hip, getting a nice side bend. Let's take 3 full breaths here. With the exhale, you can see if you can tighten that crunch. Come back to center, recheck your position. Fingers are spread wide. Full hands pressed into the mat. Externally rotate in the shoulders. And then we're going to hug the left shoulder towards the left hip, going the other way. Inhale, exhale, come back to center, and then let the movement happen again. And let's take 3 breaths here. Come back to center. Inhale and exhale. Recheck your alignment, pressing your hands into the mat, keeping those elbows forward so that we have stable shoulders. And then you're going to extend your right leg behind you. So as you do this, try not to shift your weight or your hips, but keep it even between your left knee and your right leg. And then you're gonna lift your right leg up behind you, not real high, so your hips stay in the same position. We're not tilting to the side. Hips stay pointing towards the floor, or your hip points point towards the floor. Keep the shoulders stable. Inhale, exhale, lift that leg behind you. Set the leg back down. Inhale, exhale, lift that leg behind you. The leg should feel really heavy. Set it back down. Inhale, blow out the candles to lift the leg behind you like it weighs a ton. Set it back down. Inhale, exhale, lift the leg behind you like it weighs so much. Keep your weight steady so that you're not leaning towards the left side. Set the foot back down. Come back to tabletop. You can rotate your wrists, your shoulders. It can get hard to be in that position. And then come back forward and we'll do the other side. Reestablish your stability in your shoulders. And then step your left foot back. Inhale, exhale, blow out the candles to lift your heavy leg up. Set it back down. Inhale, exhale, blow out the candles to lift that leg up. Set it back down. So you're not using your pelvis to lift your leg now. You're just lifting the leg. So if I used my pelvis to lift my leg, it would look like this. I'd go real high, but your pelvis stays in the same position and your weight is distributed between both limbs as you just inhale, blow out the candles, lift that leg behind you. It can't probably go very high up. Set it back down. Inhale, exhale, lift the leg up. Hold, set it back down. Inhale, exhale, blow out the candles to lift the leg up. Let's do a couple more. Using the breath to bring your leg up, just barely off the ground. It's so heavy. Set it back down. One more time. Pressing into the mat with your hands, keeping your weight distributed. Set it back down. Bring your knee down. Roll out your shoulders and your wrists. Come back into tabletop. Press your hands fully into the mat. Rotate your elbows forward. Bring the right leg behind you again. And bring your left hand in front of you. So opposite arm to opposite leg. Try and still keep your weight distributed as you lift your leg up. So your right hand and your left knee are on the ground, but you're not tilting your body. Try to keep it as straight as possible. Bend your knee to come back down, and we'll go to the other side. Inhale, exhale, bring your leg behind you and bring your right arm forward. Exhale, bring them back down. So we'll do opposite arm, opposite leg. Try to keep stable shoulders and use your breath. So inhale, exhale, left arm, right leg. Inhale, exhale, bring it back down. Inhale, exhale, right arm, left leg. Inhale, blow out the candles to bring them back down. This is a great exercise. Continue on each side for stability in your low back and your full back, your whole core really. Continue to use your breath and really press into the mat with the grounded hand. Do a couple more on each side if you're able, or stop when you need to, paying attention to your own body. One more right side for me, one more left side, and then coming back down, pressing back into child's pose if that feels good. And then coming out of that, you're going to come on to your mat lying down. So however is best for you to get down, gently bring yourself supine on your mat. Get comfortable, as this is the first time we've been lying down. Let your spine rest on the mat, your shoulders, relax your face. And then we're going to inhale, exhale to bring both legs up. Now, legs can be bent, knees are bent, about hips width apart. And we want to keep a neutral spine. So actually, let's go back down, practice getting the neutral spine. So to round, so everybody round your lower back into the mat. Press it, so the lower back is pressing down into the mat. And then tilt your tailbone so that there's a big space in between your lower back and the mat. So round it down, pressing the lower back into the back, your lower back into the mat, and then tilt your tailbone so that there's a big space. And then you want to come into a neutral position right in between those two. So there's still a little bit of space. It might not be very much at all in between the mat and your lower back. If there's not, without you trying, you may need to tilt your tailbone a little bit to get some space, but it doesn't need to be very much. We're just trying to keep the natural curve of the spine as we move in these positions, as we move our legs, so that it's more stable and safe for our low back. So inhale, exhale, bring the legs up. Keep that little space in your low back so you're not rounding into the floor or overly tilting. The hip points should be shooting directly up to the ceiling. Knees are about hips width apart, and you're going to internally rotate so that your feet are spread apart. Okay, so knees are still in the same place. They're not touching each other. They're about hips width apart. Feet are spread apart. Inhale, exhale, knees stay in the same place. Well, no, they don't. Feet come together, knees spread apart. Okay, so now we're externally rotating from our hips. Okay, and then feet come out, knees come more together, feet come together, knees come out. So we're practicing internally and externally rotating in our hip sockets while keeping a neutral spine. Let me show you from the front in case it's confusing what I'm doing. So I'm like this, internally rotating and externally rotating. Knees and feet aren't touching at this point. We're just going back and forth with them floating in the air and practicing keeping that neutral spine. Do a couple more on your own, and then bring your feet back down to the mat. Take a deep breath before we inhale and exhale to bring the legs back up. So this time, again, check, make sure you're keeping your neutral spine, hips are in the same position. And then place your hands on the mat, arms and hands are resting on the mat beside you. And you're gonna lift your left hips up off the mat. So you come into a little tilt. And then set your left hip back down. Lift your right hip off the mat. Set it back down. Lift your left hips off the mat. So the rest of your spine and back, try to keep your upper spine and your mid back, your shoulders on the ground as much as possible as you just barely are tilting the pelvis and the hips off the ground. You're not really curving in your whole back. It's just the very lower part of your hips and pelvis that you're trying to move up from side to side. Let's add the breath. Inhale to bring the left hip up. Exhale to set it back down. Inhale to bring the right hip up. Exhale, blow out the candles to set it back down. Inhale to bring the left hip up. Exhale, set it back down. Inhale, bring the right hip up. Exhale, set it back down. Do 2 more if you can. Take a break if you need to. At this point, we've been doing quite a bit of work in these same areas. Okay, and then place your feet on the mat. You can let your knees rest together if that feels good. Take a couple of breaths here. And then you're going to grab your block or your book, whatever you have. And we're going to extend that over your shoulders, so just lifting straight up. And then inhale, keeping your neutral spine. Exhale to bring your legs back up. So knees are bent. And we're going to go back to that little hip lift we were just doing. So inhale, exhale, bring your left hips up off the mat and move the block or book to your right. So bring your right shoulder off the mat. Okay, come back to center. Inhale, exhale, bring the right hip off the mat and lift your left shoulder off the mat. So you're going opposite sides. Back to center. Left hip comes up, right shoulder comes up. Back to center. Inhale, exhale, right hip comes up, left shoulder comes up. It's tricky for your brain too, tricky for me to say it. So keep going in this way. If this is too much, just set the block down and you can do the hips again. Or if you want to give your hips a break, you could just do the shoulders and let your feet rest on the ground. Do what works for you today. All the movements are good. Trying to keep your breath with the movement. Do a couple more if you can, whatever combination you're using. Let the movements be slow and controlled. And then set your feet down, your block down. Take a deep breath. We're not done yet, but we're getting closer to rest. We'll go into a hip bridge. So with feet about hips width apart, your spine is still in that neutral position. You're going to press both feet into the mat to lift the hips up. They don't have to come up real high. Just come up off the floor, pressing your feet firmly into the mat to really activate the legs, and then coming back down. Let's do that again. Inhale. Exhale, blow out the candles. Press your feet into the mat to let the hips lift up. We'll hold this for a few breaths. You can think about dragging your heels towards your butt without actually moving your feet to get a stronger sensation in the back of the legs. Inhale. Exhale, blow out the candles. Inhale. Exhale, blow out the candles, and let your hips come back down. And we'll do one more together. Inhale. Exhale, press your feet firmly into the mat to bring your hips up. Think about sliding the heels towards your buttocks without actually moving them. Relax your face, your jaw, your shoulders. Let all that movement be in your bottom part of your legs. Inhale. Exhale to set your hips back down. Spread your feet a little wider so they're on the edge of the mat, and let your knees fall to the right. And then lift up your knees and let your knees fall to the left. You can go back and forth a little bit, releasing the tension from your hip flexors and your legs after all that good work you did. Creating this little windshield wiper motion with your knees. And then when you're ready, you can stretch your legs all the way out, stretch your arms over your head, reach with all your limbs to give a nice full body stretch. And then you can even move your legs and your arms so that you're in kind of a banana, getting a side stretch if that feels good. Inhale, exhale fully. And then walk your limbs to the other side, getting a little banana stretch on that side. Inhale, exhale fully. Come back to center and rest your weight on the mat. Letting your forehead relax, your cheeks relax. Letting your shoulders relax. Release into the mat. Letting your mid-back and your hips relax. Let the front of your hips release all that tension. Your hip flexors and your thighs, your knees. Relax your calves, your ankles, and your feet. Thank yourself for the good work that you did today and the energy that you put into this practice. And may the stability in our bodies help us be stable for others when they need it. I'm going to sit up and read you a quote, but you're welcome to stay in the rest position as long as you're able. Be faithful in small things, because it is in them that your strength lies. Mother Teresa. Thank you for practicing with me today. Peace be with you.